Oh, wow.
Hello, everybody. Packed crowd. Thank you, thank you. I want to jump right into it because I feel like we've got a lot of stuff to cover. And I feel like the metaverse has had a very crazy year, right? A lot of people did not necessarily follow it nearly as much a year ago. Obviously, Facebook rebranding as Meta, I feel like changed that to some extent. But then we've had actually a lot
It
of
became a stock ticker,
yeah.
so it's out there.
But I know obviously some people here. I just want to like be the devil's advocate about like the metaverse, and start off by saying like some of that you wouldn't know it from here, but some of that conversation has died down a little bit. So I'm wondering, is the metaverse over? Is it overrated? Has people kind of started to rethink what they mean by thinking about the metaverse? What are your takes?
Sure, I'll start. So I think the problem with the metaverse as a term is it kind of opens a can of worms. And when you say the word the metaverse, it triggers different thoughts for different people, and it's a term that sort of lacks inherent purpose. So I think to start to make sense of the metaverse and how it will continue and what guises it will iterate into, it's helpful to think about it through the lens of who it's for and kind of what purpose it's going to have. So we're on the corporate innovation stage right now. And so through the lens of corporate innovation and this idea of metaverse for all, I think it's about augmenting our ability to work. And what do we want in work? We want to increase our productivity, and we want to increase our skills. So I think that the metaverse, through the lens of corporate innovation, will continue, and it will just be more focused on helping to achieve the actual goals of what we want for the future of work.
So maybe, and I think Natalie's absolutely right. What I'd want to add to that is, one of my favorite movies to watch are the Marvel movies. And who hasn't wanted an Iron Man suit? What if we had an Iron Man suit for everybody? In the workplace, I want an Iron Man suit that's going to augment my abilities. What if I can see more? What if I can do more? But the other part of this is, how do we bring on more people into this world? For example, we were talking backstage, and one of my neighbors has cerebral palsy. And we talk all the time. Bright young man. But he can't run like his brothers can. But in the metaverse, he can. He can snowboard. So right now we're playing chess. And some of you guys can say, well, the metaverse isn't here yet. Maybe. But for him, it's a way in. It starts with a phone. So many people here are holding up the phone. You're already seeing a world in an augmented way, just by zooming in. What if we can expand this access to everybody out there and make it a world for everybody? That's what I hope for.
I agree, and I think the one thing that you hear consistently from everybody, including my fellow panelists, is that the metaverse introduces a new world of hope, a new world of possibilities. And I think a year ago it felt inevitable, it felt imminent, it was going to happen at any time. And now it's kind of lost that excitement a little bit, and the questions being posed are, is it dead? Was it ever even real? Was it overhyped? And I believe that it's not dead and it was not overhyped. I believe that what happened was a powerful technology was introduced, known as blockchain, which made, for the first time ever, digital property rights a thing, so you can actually own things digitally. And if you extrapolate from there, that ultimately makes the metaverse possible, because you can now own digital things and interact with digital things in a digital environment. We just need a few more years to bring that to life.
Yeah, and I think it's something, and frankly, like our forecasts show this all the time, which is that, you talk about the metaverse isn't there yet, right? And there's no there.
That's right.
There's a augmented reality. The number of users goes up year after year. For VR, it goes up year over year. So it seems that it's just a matter of the consumer, and then the business user, given the stage that we're on, is getting more and more familiar with these terms. I mean, how difficult is it for you to sell an innovation and be able to explain why somebody should invest in the metaverse, in your corporation?
Yeah, and look at it. Coming from a corporate technologist's point of view, my first experience really bringing the metaverse into the business realm was at a World Economic Forum discussion where I met some amazing VR designers. And they referred to themselves as world creators. And these world creators wanted to do, and they were at University of Southern California, and what they were trying to do is create what I was calling an empathy machine. What they were hoping to do is allow other people to feel and better experience what other people are doing. Imagine if you could really walk in someone else's shoes. Today, that's very difficult to do. But with the advent of AR, VR, and XR, each of us has the opportunity to better experience, and when we do that experience, we can better connect. When we better connect and empathize, I think all of humanity benefits from that. So bringing this back into the corporate boardroom and saying it's going to help us understand our customers, it's going to help our customers understand each other, and it's going to bring people closer together, I don't think I have to explain it more than that. I'd be curious what you guys felt.
I kind of feel that, so I'm part of a startup, Hour One, and we're an AI company that creates virtual twins for the world of work. And I think in a way we're kind of living in this metaverse light era, where you saw my virtual twin on the stage and actually really helped me out today, because I'm emceeing this stage, and we're trying to work out how am I going to MC this stage and introduce my panel that I'm on, and someone had the bright idea, why don't you have your virtual twin do it? So we're actually starting to see, even in video, in a real world environment, through video, which is extremely pervasive, everyone has access to it, everyone knows how to use it, and we make it very easy to make, you can start to see the benefits at work of kind of having a virtual twin that can kind of help you out. And the idea isn't to spend more time in the virtual. In fact, I could be talking to these guys and kind of establishing a connection and talking about nuanced things and creating a good vibe, while my virtual twin kind of takes care of something that's literally like reading off a teleprompter. So I feel like there's the ability to kind of divide and conquer, and I think one lens on the promise of the metaverse in a work and professional context is that you can offload tedious, repetitive tasks to your virtual twin, and she didn't do it today, but she can also speak any language, so she can also do things that I can't in real life. So that's kind of how I see the future of work and kind of virtual twins and the sort of metaverse light.
I think the power of the metaverse really continues to grow every day. And as we find more and more use cases, and companies like Hour One are started that are doing truly amazing things, we're going to see that it's not going to be something we have to choose to engage with or believe in or not. It's just inevitable, and it's going to evolve, and it's going to be part of all of our lives. And I think part of Voice, the company that I'm a co-founder and CEO of, is focused on digital art. And we're really focused on trying to bring emerging artists and emerging collectors into the space of art using blockchain to help democratize that. And so when we think about the challenges we have in front of us to get to that new world, I genuinely believe it's just time. And I think we're still in the phase now where we're trying to understand these concepts, and they feel very foreign. But soon we'll stop asking to understand them, and we'll just be using them and touching them and feeling them. And I think those days are getting quite close, as Natalie's digital twin just demonstrated.
Well, one of the things I enjoy the most about covering this space is that I get paid to be a cynic and skeptical about all these things. And one thing that's very interesting is that I've seen a lot of interesting, you mentioned use cases, a number of different use cases where I'm like, I can definitely see that taking off, and a few things where I'm thinking, this is just lower fidelity and versus the real world. And I'm wondering, first off, if we're thinking writ large, like B2B versus B2C, which is maybe the bigger or better short-term opportunity for the metaverse?
Natalie, why don't you take that one if you want, because I know we were talking about this backstage and I wanted to add something to it.
Yeah, so B2B or B2C, I think it's kind of again, sort of boiling it down to what can the metaverse or what can virtual twins or being able to inhabit a virtual world do for you in these different environments. So if we think consumer, let's refine it's kind of entertainment. And if we think B2B, it's kind of about maybe communication. So I think that the use cases are very different, and you need to just kind of refine what it is. And I think in both cases, it will take off. So in the case of entertainment, actually, we kind of see that happening already in the world of gaming. Okay, you can kind of immerse yourself in a fantastical character or creature, and you can be more immersed in that world that you want to be immersed in, because that is the entertainment experience. And in the world of business, I think it really is about delegating. And I think when we find that product market fit, and the ability to kind of delegate to a virtual twin to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve at work, which is to buy back time. I think there's like very different avenues, and I think the more refined we can get about what it is we're trying to achieve and like sort of very narrowly try and build for that, I think basically it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think both are happening, just in very specific ways, and we just need to be very strategic and thoughtful about what it is we're trying to achieve at the end of the day. Is it full-on immersive entertainment, or is it buying back time in a way that was previously not possible?
Yeah, I think the time thing is absolutely right. If you look at any major tech trend that really impacts our lives, it has a couple things in common, and one of them is the ability to scale and be everywhere all at once, and really collapse time on it. When I look at what the implications are for business models, early on in my career, I worked on something called AI pedagogical agents, which is just a fancy word for a virtual teacher. How can I get a virtual teacher everywhere? You look at something like the pandemic. Many of us were learning new skills during the pandemic. Many of us had children, like mine. My daughter was in kindergarten learning to read and do math during the pandemic. What I wouldn't have given to take in some of the best tutors in the world and the best teachers and place them everywhere for all people. What I wouldn't have given to have taken personal tennis lessons from Serena and Venus Williams, right, in the comfort of my home. So I worked on things that were a little bit maybe less bombastic, but they were all about how can we create professors that are going to help medical students teach surgical operations. These are the things I think that might start out. They can advance healthcare, they can advance teaching, all the things that we really need in our lives right now. And I think that's exactly where I get excited about your work, and how do we make that more real? Because it shows one other thing. When you're learning from someone you feel comfortable with, you learn better. So how do I do this? With my daughter, she was learning ballet during the pandemic, and there was a little AI program that created deepfakes. And these deepfakes, I could actually put her face and her body type, but make her look like Missy, one of the best, I forget her last name, but Missy, and she's one of the best ballet dancers in the world. And when she was doing the moves, my daughter got inspired. She was motivated to see someone like her digital twin, successfully complete what she thought was impossible for her. That's exciting. The monetization and commercialization will follow from that in many interesting ways.
I think this is a fascinating question. On the panel here, I'm the only company that is purely B2C. We are trying to bring emerging artists into a world and bring emerging collectors to come collect their works. And so this is very near and dear to my heart, because the initial kind of year or two of the blockchain movement, the Web3 movement, was very consumer driven. But I happen to believe that the next phase will be business driven. Because businesses and people have very different motivations. So if you think about what gets you to use a new tool or a new platform, I mean, how many people here started using Instagram because it would make them more money? Show of hands. How many people signed up for Instagram because their friends were doing it?
I'll put up 2 hands for you right there.
Thank you. Because ultimately a consumer is driven by social equity and by what we call things going viral. Businesses, on the other hand, are largely driven by profit and revenue. And I think now is where we're going to see how blockchain technology can make companies more productive, make individuals in those companies more productive and more efficient, and be able to really bring this technology out to the masses in a very purpose-specific way. And then I think the consumer use cases, much like we've seen with the large social media platforms today, came well after companies had adopted the internet. And so I think we saw a little consumer first, and then business, and then consumer.
I actually think it's pretty interesting just about Instagram and like what motivated people to be on Instagram. I think part of it as well is the ability to be a photographer, to be a creator, to refine and augment and basically touch things and make them better. So I think there's that element, and also people love filters. Yeah. People love to look better, and I think that even in the world of B2B, people are going to want to look their most professional self at all times. And if the metaverse can help you, or these digital tools can help you look your most professional at all times, I think there's something in that
Yeah.
with the
Now,
Instagram.
there is a saying, though. The metaverse is the one place in the world where you can't find a decent cheeseburger. So there are some things that you can't, but I agree with you completely, which is that we have to think about things beyond the current business modalities and economic modalities. Build things that enable, not, in startup world, you generally think, build things that customers are asking you for. In the metaverse, I think the slogan should be, build things that allow people to do things that they never thought were possible before. How can you answer the question of, what can you do, what can you offer to the world that has never been done before? If you answer that, you will be the next Instagram. You will be something even more important.
Well, this is one example that I was talking about with some people last night. In the metaverse, do you need a doorknob or do you just transport through a door? And the thought is like, is that inherently a human thing to open a doorknob, or is that just a necessity? And actually what we want to do is to teleport from place to place, but we can't. And in the metaverse we can, and we're going to be okay with that, So I think you're right. A lot of things have to be rethought in this new type of environment, and also frankly, a lot of businesses have to rethink in terms of how they're adding value. I know Chipotle is one of the top consumer brands that has experimented in the metaverse, and I don't think you can find a great burrito in the metaverse either. So, but one thing that I think is important also to talk a little bit about is if the metaverse can't necessarily, if you make a case to your organization, make a major investment in the metaverse, it's going to lead to greater equity, and it's going to be able to transform our brand down the line. But it's going to cost us something to do that test and learn today. Then how do you convince people of doing that? I mean, how do you, let's say, even maybe just to start with you, how do you make that case about it makes sense to make this investment because it will eventually pay dividends because you'll be ahead of the competition?
Yeah, so we don't really use the term metaverse like you're making this leap into something else. We kind of think about, well, how can we help you become a better communicator at work? How can we help your business upgrade its communication from text to have it instructor-led across the board? Now you can have an instructor present all of your L&D content for you at kind of infinite scale automatically. So do you want that? Does that solve a problem for you? So we kind of start with, okay, so these are the challenges that people have at work. This is the kind of content experience they're trying to deliver, because people are, having to be especially in a more hybrid or remote work environment. How do you keep people engaged? Well, people like to see other people in content. So what if we took all of your text-based content and just upgraded it in a very cost-effective and scalable way to make it presenter-led? It could be you, or you could basically hire one of our avatars, So that's kind of what we lead with, is like, what problems exist and how can, through AI-driven technologies, through metaverse-like technologies, how can we actually solve them? So we kind of like bypass the whole kind of, idea of the kind of metaverse.
It's really meaningful to me that before we leave this stage, we come away with maybe, if not something tangible, but an action that we can take collectively to help bring this metaverse to life. Because the title of our talk is Metaverse for All, and it really is important that that metaverse be for all, and and now we have the opportunity to help shape that future. And I think by simply participating a little bit, leaning into this space a little bit, we can each begin to help make sure that it leads down the right path, because we've seen how Web 2 can go wrong and how Web 1 can go wrong. And so if you're in any way interested in the metaverse and you have an opinion about how you think Web 2 should be better, or today's internet could be better, I would really encourage you to take a small step. And as I was saying earlier, what defines Web 3 is digital property ownership. Well, that means that you have to be able to hold something digitally and be able to, what we call in the industry is self-custody a digital asset. So I encourage you all to go out and to find a self-custody wallet, an app, a website. Download it, install it, get familiar with it, and start breaking down those barriers of the foreignness of this space, and begin to appreciate that what my fellow colleagues in this panel are doing is actually really real right now. and the building blocks of it are already in front of us. So even though we don't understand the end goal of this metaverse yet, or how we're going to get there, the first few steps are pretty clear. And I think we can all do a little bit to get involved early to help really push this forward and make it come even sooner.
And I think that you're right. There's also a really important element, going back to the whole metaverse for all element of this. What's definitely important is to think about there are underserved communities, underserved consumers, underserved people right now who are left behind a little bit. And even though businesses' jobs are to, make money, you can make money by finding people who have been underserved by the current paradigm and finding ways to serve them better in a new environment, no?
And one thing I would say about that, Jeremy, and I think you're right, is for the folks that are thinking about the monetization of this, one of the best things you can ever do is not just look at your traditional TAM, right, your market that you can serve, but if you really have the mindset of abundance and think about how am I going to grow that whole space. And so in a world like this, when we're really we're building new worlds in the metaverse, you're growing a pie that you can have a piece of. I do get the desire to have, how are we going to pitch the investment? You have to do that, otherwise we can't build it. The way I was doing it, in talking to my executive team and my board, was sitting there and saying, it's already happening. Here's what I'm seeing so far. I'm seeing a gaming community that is well represented in this building and the next. A gaming community that already understands so many of the foundational technologies. The art community that understands this so well and has embraced it. Those communities are building and growing. And so we're listening to what they're saying, and in the gaming world, we were already seeing people not feeling like they were safe. They were feeling like, I'm a security guy, so I come from this notion of, if I'm getting stalked, am I getting doxxed? Am I getting defrauded online? Those things, those problems, then my job and my team's job is to think, if this world grows, which I know it will, because it's growing with the help of you guys, and all of you here, and all the creators in the audience, is how do I keep it safe? That's when I start telling that story, when I start convincing my fellow colleagues about that, they get it. They understand that they've seen this before. So in short, I would say you're relating it to previous trends, and you're going from there.
I know we have just a little bit of time left. I want to say just to stump you guys, if you could mention one company out there that's not your own that's worth watching over the next 5 years within the metaverse and metaverse adjacent space, who would it be? One word, see if we can do it.
I'm really interested in safe AI, not just smarter AI, but those who can keep it safe for all of us.
Berlitz, a 150-year-old language school that's using virtual instructors to be able to teach languages to people all over the world, and 30,000 videos made and counting.
Well, for me it's Apple, because I think they hold the key to putting a wallet in all of your hands faster than anybody else. I'd keep a close watch on the next few Apple updates.
I think I've heard of that company, but I'm going to look them up a little bit more just to research. But this was really fantastic. Wish we had more time, but thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jeremy.
all for